we're very fortunate today to have Meila Wimbush here. She is a fourth year New College student. She's studying political science and environmental studies. She's worked at the NCF campus with leadership positions in student government and the Council of Green Affairs. And I think, are you also working on creating a League of Women Voters chapter?
Yes.
Yes, so
Started
New College working on that. So glad to have you here to give your perspective of what you've seen in your time.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Meila Wimbush. I hope everyone can hear me. And I also hope everyone's able to see the screen here.
Get a little closer to the mic, maybe, or you can just take it and hold it up close.
Oh. Let's go. Is it a little bit better?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm filling in for Grace Tina. She was originally supposed to be here if you saw on the docket, but she had a last minute LSAT exam, so they got her with that one. So I'm here instead, but Grace is a really great friend of mine and colleague. We work together in student government, so I'm really glad to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to invite me. So I'll be talking a little bit about what's going on at New College. My introduction kind of explained a little bit about me, but I am a fourth year returning student. I've been at New College ever since my first year, so I've really seen it change. I came in right as COVID in 2020 start, so my first year was quite rocky, but I guess it's rocky again now too, so I don't understand much. So I'll be talking a little bit about what we're seeing. So to start off, I have some of the presidential updates. Right now, there is the presidential search committee. There's 3 candidates. Currently, Richard Corcoran, who is our interim president, he is one of the candidates, as you may know, which is a little controversial. This was delayed because of the hurricane, but the Board of Trustees is hoping to vote during the first week of October. And just so you know, those meetings are public. They're also online as well, but anyone is welcome to attend those from the community, both students as well as non-students. There's also a note on the committee. It's typical that the student president serves as a student trustee who also sits on the presidential search committee. However, the chair chose another student, a student who's there at New College for only 1 semester and did not hold any student government leadership positions prior. So it is a little bit difficult to understand how that position would go to the student. But the student body has been trying to get as much input through surveys, through talking to students or our leadership to at least have a more unison outlook. It's also the search committee has narrowed it down to 3 candidates. So like I said, hopefully we will know who our new president is going to be shortly, especially since this was the hostile takeover from February to now. So on to gender studies. If anyone was able to see the August Board of Trustees meeting, there was a topic about gender studies in the program on campus brought up towards the end. So in the most recent meeting, towards the end, there was a call to a vote that was not discussed previously, which meant that the board members did not have time to discuss the matter, collect evidence, or even prepare a discussion during that open time. A vote was called to terminate the gender studies program entirely. That was called by Trustee Rufo, which is problematic because of 2 reasons. One, it's questionable whether the significant actions without publicly noticing it gives everyone enough time to make a discussion before voting, because it was just brought up in the business section, there was no time. Second of all, the Board of Trustees actions and the regulations fall under the Board of Governors, and there's a lot of rules and regulations in terms of termination of a contract or a AOC that has to go through the faculty union. It's legally bound. So it appears that that was not done by any of those rules or standards. So now there's the issue of the lack of trust from the Board of Governors. Also, on the administrative side, we do have a lot of new hires. So athletic coaches, because we did just get a huge athletics department and it's still growing to this day. New food coordinators, dean of students, positions in the student body has historically always been able to participate in the search committee for those. But a lot of these new hires have not considered student input whatsoever. And it's really been up to the higher administration for these new positions. And also, all the new hires in the past, surprisingly, many of them already have children attending college, some of which are at our school, other colleges as well. And so it's a little bit back and forth. And if we could go on to the next slide really briefly. Thank you. Okay, so I have some updates on our student affairs issues. One of the biggest issues, which this made public news over the summer, is the housing crisis that we went through. The first main problem was a mold situation, which nowadays has pretty much left more students without housing. First, the students were told that they were being kicked out of the upperclassmen housing that was assigned for them and that many of us had already been put into months prior. Because there was all these athletes coming in, they decided that they wanted to take the Dorton Gold, which are the suites, the upperclassmen apartments essentially of the campus. They wanted to take the people who were in those already, move them out and make that where all the athletes would stay. In sort of a community building, they all have the same schedule, they all get up early, they have work to do kind of outlook. They also proceeded to do major renovations over the summer, lots of renovations, which students had asked for in previous years, just for the sake of cleaning up a building, new paint, fixing things like AC, problems that have been complained about for a while, but then all of a sudden it just happened over the summer when they were all going to move in. As for the pay dorms, which are the problems with mold, what happened was over spring break of last year, there was mold testing done in the dorms. And the mold report was shared with the students, or shared with the president's office first, and it had not been discussed outside of that office months later. So now we're looking at the end of May, and people were also already assigned that building to live in. So student government, specifically Grace and her colleagues, were able to get their hands on the mold report, which should be public knowledge. And it had, quote, should not be occupying any of the paid dorm, 3 dorm buildings on campus that have historically housed first and second year students. So the plan was to put some students in pay dorms, the ones that were given the thumbs up to live in, because each dorm was supposedly tested specifically. However, this is about 40 students, and New College isn't a super big school. We're looking at about 600, a little under 700 students with the class, but that is a pretty significant percentage, especially when most of that is incoming first years. Until the second report came back, then they said that you cannot put any students in those buildings whatsoever. So this is when the college had to move to hotels, because they realized that they promised too many beds and they didn't have any. So first they started with one hotel. It was the Homes to Suites. It's about a mile off campus. It's a 5-minute drive, but if you don't have a car, it's about 20 to 30 minutes in the Florida heat and the rain. And it's also on a very dangerous road with all the cars zooming by. We went from one hotel to now 3. A lot of students who got their room assignments didn't get a new room assigned until 2 days until move-in, which meant that they thought they were living in a pay dorm and then they were assigned a hotel. A lot of students showed up to campus and were told to move 4 different times. Their parents had no idea where to plan for them, and they had to repack, sell furniture, meet new people, and figure that all out within 48 hours of moving in. Most recently, also with move-in, there was an issue with our orientation leaders. I believe the Herald Tribune had an article about this, which some of y'all may have seen recently. It was about the pins and just identity expression on campus. anything from pride pins to a Black Lives Matter pin, just something the size of a quarter on someone's shirt or their pants or a backpack was not approved. It went against what they were supposed to wear as an orientation leader. And this was because they were defined as ambassadors of the school at the time for all the new athletes and first years moving in, which is also not their title. They're orientation leaders who were trained, who were there to do a job. And then as soon as they got on their site, they were told they had to remove their pins. And they only were able to wear a shirt and a name tag. So they were told that by the dean of students. Following that, so the students moved them off their uniforms and onto their pants instead of their shirts. They were told their shirts had to be only the name tag. Then the rules changed again, saying they weren't allowed to wear pins at all, despite the fact that there's nothing in writing saying that they even had to wear the uniform to begin with. We've also started to meet a lot of the new athletes over the last couple weeks. The hurricane definitely messed up everybody's getting back to school schedules, but it's become pretty clear that a lot of the athletes that came to our school were also not told everything they should have been. Some of the things like having facilities, our campuses never had a sports team. If it was usually a club, but we've never had sports teams. So something like a gym or a basketball court, a baseball field, that's not there. And so they're not practicing at our campus, and if they are, what's been put up has been put up in the last like week or so now, but it's not a true practicing facility at all. One of the biggest things that we noticed first is that many of them have also planned on majoring in programs that New College does not have. Which it's a lot of them, it's business, accounting, finance, things like that. They're programs that we don't have, that we haven't offered in the past, or have the ability of offering them to them because we do have a major faculty problem, which I'll talk about in a second. But with that still being said, there is a good portion of the incoming class that we have noticed are really driven, unique individuals. They're academically focused. So that shouldn't happen all into one thing. But moving on to faculty loss, this is also a huge media break for a while. The faculty loss is historic. We've lost around 30% of faculty this year alone. And this year has really just been the end of semester and then the summer term. So it's not even a full academic year. A lot of it's a mix of pre and leave, but also it's professors that decide to leave without pay. And some of them just quit, just straight up quit and have looked for jobs elsewhere, which many of them have been able to find, but it's really sad. Since the numbers are so small at New College, we have some comparisons to other universities. For instance, at Florida Gulf Coast University, if they lost 30%, that would equal about 150, 160 professors. And if you compare that to USF, it would be about 650 faculty members. And that's pretty much just in the summer alone. So as you can imagine, the students are a bit stressed. Myself included, I'm a fourth year student, which means I'm thesising. I have to graduate in the spring with a certain number of classes that I need. And unfortunately, a lot of them are not offered. There's visiting professors who don't know the same academic system from either a different university that they went to, or maybe they haven't taught before, and this is their first chance from their PhD. So they can't always offer required coursework, whether that be upper level classes or something very specific for different majors that we have. Many students, especially third and fourth years like myself, are also struggling to even have enough faculty members to take classes that we need, to build our thesis committees, to help us just in general, which then adds additional stress onto the students, which is something that students shouldn't have to worry about. They should just be going to class. They shouldn't have to worry about not being able to have the classes they need, not being able to have housing, just simple security that the school should provide. At the end of the summer, we were given a presentation on this by the provost office, and there were a couple AOCs that actually didn't have any professors at all. One of them being environmental studies / science, which is also one of my areas of concentration. So this semester I've been able to take 0 environmental based classes. And I need a handful to graduate, so we're gonna count on the spring on that one. So we've either had to find last minute visiting professors, and that search is still going on despite us being 2 weeks into the semester, or I guess 3 weeks now, but it's only 2nd week of class, so we're not seeing all the full effects right now. But there's an extreme amount of 3rd and 4th year students who have transferred, withdrawn, left. I think in the spring, in terms of graduation, we'll really see who's staying, who needs to add another semester even just to graduate from new college because of the way their plans were derailed. It's a little bit about us. I also included one of our protest photos here. So hopefully if you're able to support the school in any way, there's a lot of students who are really just struggling right now, but we're all trying our best. And we realize that a lot of the income class isn't all bad. It's kind of pinned against us sometimes, the way the media does it, but we're trying our best to make it work. Thank you.